welcome back to another video here on my YouTube channel. And for today's book review, we're going to be reviewing the third and final book in the Black Springs Ranch series by Albert Palmer. This is After the Rain. Now, this is like sort of cowboy romance. So she lives on her father's ranch because this is the third and oldest Hayes sister. So this follows Cleo Hayes and Grady Wild, who is at the point of the beginning of, where we start in the book, Grady Wild goes by the stage name Lawson Wild, and he is a country singer, part of a country band, who has come back to his hometown to do a final show before the band basically takes a break or breaks up. I think they take a break. Maybe they're breaking up. I don't remember. This one I thoroughly enjoyed. I gave it 5 stars. Now, one of the reasons why I thoroughly enjoyed it is because it has one of my new favorite tropes. The more that I read really good iterations of this trope, I'm like, okay, I'm really enjoying it. This has second chance romance. Okay, so my first ever second chance romance, they basically dated for like 2 months and then broke up, and then were broken up for like the summer, and then when school started again, he tried to win her back and eventually did. So that was when I was like, I don't know if I'm a fan of second chance romance. And then I have read many second chance romance books, and this one, they were so they dated in high school when he asked her out, and then they dated as well in college. And in college, when she broke up with him because he was putting a lot of priority on his music career, and he wasn't putting her first really anymore, to the point that it was her birthday. He made a dinner reservation. He ended up being an hour and a half late. She actually got kicked out of the restaurant because they're like, we can't keep holding your table. We've actually held it longer than we should. So she's sitting out in the pouring rain. He finally arrives. And that's sort of like what broke the camel's back, where she's like, hey, like, you've been prioritizing your music career. And he's like, well, I've been doing it for us, for our future. And it was kind of like, what my interesting take on it, it was sort of like, she was feeling like their present was being lost, even though he kept being like, oh, I'm working towards our future. It felt like she wasn't being prioritized in the present. And so she ended up breaking up with him. And you see that in the flashback chapters. Now, I am not somebody who typically enjoys flashback chapters, because I feel like a type of person who just wants to like be in the present now, where they're like starting to reconnect. And I remember talking with my mom right before I was reading, I think the first or second flashback chapter, and I was like, oh, I'm not a fan of those. And then I read it. I think it was the one where they started dating or something, or went on their first date, or he asked her out. I can't remember which one, but it was before one of those where I was like, okay, this was actually really cute. And the flashback chapters were really great in this book. And even in the breakup chapter, it was one of the first moments when reading a book where I was like sad with the character. I was like, oh, this is sad that you're breaking up with him, because you could tell how much they like loved each other and like cared about each other, but you could also tell how much he felt like she again wasn't really being prioritized, wasn't being like, he was putting other things first, and it just like she was dropping and she was putting him first, but he wasn't putting her first. And like, it was so sad when they like broke up, and then like how it was so sad when he like was feeling the weight of the breakup and feeling like realizing like the sadness of like not having her really in his life anymore. And they were apart for 17 years before they reconnect. And when so how they reconnect is, like I said, he came back to a small town to perform at the local bar to do one last show with his band. He's a country singer, and that's when she sees him. And then he tries to, once the show is over, to talk to her, but she sort of starts having a panic attack, and she has a couple of those around him. And that's sort of how it starts. So I was sort of wondering, and he was also married too at the time, so I was also wondering like, okay, how is this gonna like work out? And then it turned out that he was in like a marriage of convenience, because he met somebody like the night that they broke up at a bar, who was like, oh, basically she ended up working for like a record label that her family owned, and was like, I can offer you a record deal. And then like they became like best friends, and then years down the line, she was poised to take over the record label, but like she would need to be married for something. I don't remember the whole situation. And so he actually so Grady Wild came back to his hometown to see his mother, who was sick with cancer, and she wanted to go to the rodeo. He goes to the rodeo with his mom and his dad, and then his mom wants some drinks, so he goes to get some beers. And that's when he runs into Cleo Hayes. At that point, I don't know how long it had been, if it had been 4 years or more. It could have been more than that since they've seen each other. I think it was maybe 4 years. Yeah, I think it was 4 years at that point. And then so they start talking and sort of reconnecting a little bit. And then somebody else comes up and puts his arm around her. And so Grady Wilde thinks that Cleo Hayes moved on with like somebody else like years later. So when his best friend messages him and basically is like, oh, like I need to find somebody to marry, to to have this marriage of convenience, to be able to eventually take over the record label, because he thinks Cleo has moved on. He just suggests that night, he's like, I'll do it. Like, I'll like, he was like, I'll marry you. And then, she's like, no. And he's like, I will. And they like drop some agreements. And then eventually they end up also having a child together, him and the wife that he was married to. So that kind of like plays into a bit of the story. But then eventually, they decide to divorce after the marriage is over. She becomes head of the record label. And then he decides he wants to reconnect with Cleo Hayes 17 years later. And it's like such a beautiful story, because I think second chance romance can be really beautiful. And this was one of those that I thoroughly enjoyed. It was not my favorite second chance romance of the year. I've read 2 this year. There was another one that I enjoyed like slightly more, but this one was still fantastic out of the 2. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I just had another one that like is slightly above. But yes, thoroughly enjoyed it. Fantastic. If you're somebody who wants a little bit more of like sort of like the cowboy adjacent, but like still ranch life meets second chance romance meets independently published author, then I would recommend this book so much. Like I said, I gave this one 5 stars. So that is all for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss another brand new video from me. You can also leave a comment down below if you have any other cowboy romance series you would recommend that I read, because I will research those and read them. So you can follow me at RomanceBLVD on Instagram and Threads. That means Romance Boulevard. And also you can follow me at Romance Boulevard, all spelled out, on TikTok. I have over 1,000 followers now on TikTok, which is so exciting. I think I reached that milestone, like I want to say a week or 2 ago, and I was like so excited. I texted my friends and my mom. I was like, look, I got to 1,000 followers. So that's been so fun. I hope to continue to grow on all of my platforms when it comes to book reviews, because I've been thoroughly enjoying reading so much this year. So yeah, that is all for this video. Until the next one, bye.